What's up, everybody? It's Goddess Z, and I'm here with another podcast episode on Holistic and Spiritual AF. I hope everybody has been taking care of themselves, mind, body, and spirit, because that's what it's all about. If either one of those things are out of balance, then we are out of balance, and we don't want that, okay? And if this is your first time hopping on this podcast, welcome to the Holistic and Spiritual AF community. Be sure to hit that like, comment, follow, subscribe if you're into topics such as ancestral wisdom, esoteric practices, alchemy, metaphysics. We just kind of go in on anything that has to do with the mind, body, spirit integration. Okay. On the first and third Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have guests also sharing their wisdom and their experience on the podcast. And on the second and the fourth Fridays of the month at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I, the host of Holistic and Spiritual AF, Goddess Z, I come in with my transmissions and my downloads of a variety as well. Okay, so this podcast is now airing every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and can be found on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, pretty much anywhere that podcasts are being aired right now. So definitely pick your poison and go ahead and sign up and listen to me over there if that's what you're into. And welcome back, fam. I appreciate each and every one of you. The podcast episodes are getting juicier. I'm telling you, season two, we set the bar, okay? Season one was amazing too. Don't get me wrong. Lots and lots of information that was filtered into this space, in this temple, okay? So be sure to check out the past episodes as well, okay? But season two set the bar, honey, okay? So in January 2026, we're going to be doing season three, and honey, we got to bring it. We have got to bring it, okay? So let's see, what business do I need to get out of the way? Actually, I think the best way to do it, guys, is my information will be down in the description. You can check me out on holisticandspiritualaf.com and to keep up to date with books, classes, blogs, newsletters, all that good stuff, and social media as well, how to follow me there, okay? So, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into today's topic. Today is going to be episode 57. Wow, that's exciting. I'm just growing and I love it. 57. And what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be talking about four types of spiritual attacks and how to protect your energy. Okay. So, I talk a lot about spiritual attacks and spiritual warfare. It just kind of comes out and what I say a lot because it's real. It's very real and it's something that people go through pretty frequently, more frequently than they should have to be going through. And with as much spiritual insight and wisdom that I have with over 21 years in the game, I still have to fortify my spiritual body to make sure that my body is protected, okay? And that I am in tune and I am conscious and I am aware and I am warding off attacks before they happen. And this is constant. I'm not constantly battling like I used to be before I knew to stay protected, but it's constantly I have to be on the lookout for things. And I literally just recently went through something last week where I had, if I was not rooted in my practices and with my ancestors and the, great spirit and connection to everything, then things could have gone badly. But because of that, and I really realized that today when I was actually doing my cleansing my home, I was doing my floor wash, and I thought to myself, I was like, my gosh, if it weren't for these types of practices that I have, that thing could have went real bad. Like it really, really went. It went so doggone. Like it was no way you could tell me that my ancestors didn't have nothing to do with that. Like I did some serious, deep rooted work for the bloodline, and everybody showed up on this one, okay? The bloodline, the cosmic family. I had deities that I haven't worked with in a long time that came here and we cut through the bullshit, kicked ass, took no names, and won, honey, okay? And that's because of the spiritual protection that I have. And that I embody, and the fact that I keep on showing up. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about today. I was like, you know what? That's what we're talking about because a lot of people, like I said, are walking around experiencing spiritual attacks, and we're talking about everything on social media. I'm talking about, we talk about some advanced like PhD topics, like you got to have some serious practice and discipline to even make it to that point, but we're not talking about the basics. And that's why I talk a lot about what I do, because The basics is how I started. And B, the basics never get old. Okay. These are the foundations and foundational practices of spirituality. Like, so if you're just beginning your journey, you'll want to learn these things. If you're in the middle, if you're at the end, if you're more advanced, you're still doing these things. You should still be doing these things. Okay. And so, yeah, that's what we're talking about today. And I'm just bringing up four types of spiritual attacks. There's other ones, there's deeper ones. As always, these kind of overlap each other. And then, of course, me, because I do have an analytical side, for me to be so right brain and be Miss Creative and spiritual, I literally have a left brain side of me that's very analytical and likes to break down processes and solve problems. So I like to bust down some definitions, a lot of times because we throw words out there. We don't even know what we're saying. Words have power. Words have the power to heal. Words have the power to kill. Words are blessings and words are curses. So we want to know what the hell we saying when we signing up for what somebody else said, okay? So I wanted to give a breakdown of what is actually even a spiritual attack, okay? A spiritual attack, and we're coming from a non-Christian definition on this, okay? I want to get that straight. But it's very similar, just kind of different thought processes and belief systems behind it, okay? So, a spiritual attack is a perceived influence or oppression from a negative, unseen entity or energy that negatively impacts one's physical body, mind, or emotions, leading to feelings of negativity, anxiety, or an overall struggle against something beyond the physical realm. And I'm going to say, I'm going to take out perceived because I have been in the game long enough to know that, honey, if my intuition said it's so, it is so. It ain't nothing perceived about it. It ain't that I perceive. They have to put those words in there, in the English language to try to make it seem like that this whole understanding of esoteric ideas and experiences that cannot be explained with science has to be perceived, when in actuality, if you've ever experienced it, you know the shit is real. And that's all you need to know. You don't need no definition to tell you that. Okay. So I'm taking perceived out, and I think you guys got the picture here of what we're talking about. So the first type of spiritual attack is going to be coming from your hater. And also, I put in there monitoring spirit as well. Okay. I think pretty much everybody knows what a hater is. We know that's a person who's watching your every move, just waiting on you to F up. Okay. They're sitting there jealous as hell about all of your accomplishments. They're the ones that you're like, why are you even telling them anything in the first place? But the thing is the interesting thing about a hater is they're the ones who can't stand your ass, but they can't stop watching you. So they're always around, like, and they're just waiting. They're just waiting on the impending doom moment. Okay. You could be sitting there successful and just got accolades, or you could just be consistently rising, growing, transforming, elevated. They wait on that one thing. They waiting on that one thing to be like, see, you ain't shit. And so that person, in my opinion, shouldn't even be in your life in the first place. But if they are for some reason, that's who they are. Okay. And then, of course, I also put the monitoring spirit, who that's something that I had to learn what that was, I think about a year or two when that started popping up on social media. I was like, well, isn't that just a hater? And somebody schooled me, and they was like, no, a monitoring spirit isn't someone who wishes bad on you. They're just someone who watches your every move, and they don't cause any harm. Well, I'm going to take that a little further based on my own intuitive understanding and downloads. So, a monitoring spirit can be dangerous. And the reason why is because they could very well be an NPC, where they're just kind of be waiting to be activated at just the right time. Okay. So this is somebody who you may not know, may have never met at all, may never actually see. And social media makes that very possible, because how many times do we have people that follow us that we don't know who they are? You don't know who they are. You don't know how many times they're watching your videos. They never like anything. They're just kind of behind the scenes, lurking and watching. And what makes them specifically dangerous is the fact that because they're an NPC, they are able to be activated by other entities at any given time. Okay. So they're consistently watching, kind of keeping the radar of what's going on with you, waiting on you to fall or waiting on a great opportunity to slip in and make you fall in some sort of a way. And the dangerous part about that, like I said, is you could have no idea who this person is. Okay. So the hater and the monitoring spirit, that's going to be our first person that can offer a spiritual attack. The second one is the gossiper. Okay, this is the person that spreads the rumors, twists lies, take your story, tell half truths, tell the bad part, leave the good part out. They want to go around and they're always looking to talk about not somebody in a good way. We're not talking about somebody who's gossiping about the great things that you're doing. They're always talking about the bad parts of what's going on in people's lives. Okay, for some reason, they feed off of the negativity of what's happening, and everybody has cycles in their lives. Okay, we all have life, and the life cycle is very cyclical. So sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. There's meant to have lessons and things that we learn in life. So doesn't necessarily mean that things are going bad. It just is unpleasant. It's not exactly what we want in life. And so you've got this person running around telling that. And then on top of that, not only telling that, but keeping you connected to an old timeline of who you used to be. And I went through that last week with this whole thing I had to do for the lineage. Is this particular lady was just hell bent on trying to connect me to who I used to be like 22 years ago. I'm thinking I was a freaking kid, and now you're sitting here like I'm a grown ass woman. I done gone through so much work. That's why it was like I realized that I was under spiritual attack. But I had my ancestors there that was like, stay strong, remember who you are, keep pushing through, hold the line, hold the line. And so I did, and I didn't allow her to do what she was trying to do, which was really she was trying to exhibit a form of psychological warfare. She wanted to mess me up in the head and get me to thinking about who this person used to be, who I used to be, and just continue to try to push me on that timeline, including like misusing my name, mispronouncing my name, and using a name that I don't use anymore, and everything. So, whatever, that type of person right there is very dangerous if you let them. Okay, so if you have no idea that this type of person is around, or doing this, that's another thing. You may not even know they gossiping about you. This can also be a form of spiritual attack. Number three is the energy vampire, which I think we all know. We hear about that one a lot, but I'm putting something else next to that, which is the siphoner. Okay, we're going to get into it. All right. The energy vampire, pretty much everybody knows. This is the person that just drain the hell out of you. Like, like your spirit knows, right? Your spirit is like, oh my God, like here they come. Every time they call, you sitting there looking at the phone, like, don't answer it. Like your spirit is pretty vocal about the energy vampire because you can just tell it's the person that calls and all they want to do is dump, 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 dump. And then, or it's me, 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 me. And every time you try to redirect the conversation just a little bit and just get in there, okay, I got to go. Right. And then you get off the phone and then you're freaking drained. So your body physically usually tells you when you're dealing with an energy vampire, and you feel drained. You feel drained emotionally, you feel drained physically, and you feel exhausted. Like, and you also feel like you're not motivated anymore, right? Like, so I think we all know an energy vampire, and that is a form of spiritual attack as well. Now, the siphoner, on the other hand, is the one you got to watch out for. If you ask me, out of all of these, the siphoner is your most dangerous one. The siphoner and the monitoring spirit, because the monitoring spirit is somebody you don't know. You don't have a clue who this person is. Okay. So that kind of makes them dangerous. But the siphoner, on the other hand, is going to take the opposite approach, okay, than the hater. See, the hater is going to let you know, I don't like you, okay, but I just can't stay away from you. The siphoner is going to do the opposite. Oh, you're so amazing. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Oh, they're constantly wanting to be in your energy field. And you may think, wow, this is great. This person's a real supporter, right? And really, what they're doing is they're feeding off of your supply of light, particularly if you're somebody who emanates a lot of light. Okay. Now, you may be more powerful than you know. And that's another reason that practicing spiritual protection and being conscious and aware, utilizing your intuition, being connected to your ancestors, all of these things are going to be defenses in a spiritual warfare that we're constantly on a daily basis in. And I say this all the time. Whether you believe it or not, it's real. Okay. So if you don't believe it, and you're not protecting yourself. But then there's somebody who understands how this works, okay? And they understand that, hey, light feeds my dark body, and I don't want to do the work that it took for her to get the light or him to get the light. So now I'm just going to come and be around you and just like, suck your energy. And meanwhile, you're not able to really elevate, transform, or rise because this person's going to keep you as their food source, their energy source, okay? So, but like I said, you keep them around. Why? Because they constantly telling you how great you are and they're just giving you good advice and all of this stuff, right? Siphoner is very dangerous. And this is where spiritual discernment comes in handy because you're going to be able to know when something's off. Okay, why is this person so nice? And watch what you're telling them and things like that. So, that is the third one. Excuse me. I was like, third one. The energy vampire and the siphoner. Okay, and then the fourth one is going to be the binder. Okay, this one right here, this one don't get talked about that much. And the binder is the one that just keeps looping you in, just keeps looping you in the same cycle and the same karmic loop, just keeps on keeping just you attached to them. Okay, and the issue with them is a lot of us have had relationships that have run their course. I think we can all relate to this, whether it's jobs, whether it's romantic partnerships, whether it's family relationships, whether it's communities that we were a part of. They serve their purpose and that's it. The lesson was received, and now you're meant to go on, and they're meant to go on their way. But for some reason, you continued the relationship, and then a lot of it has to do with the other person finding a way to kind of get a hook into you to kind of continue to feed off of your energy and that impedes your growth because now it's keeping you stuck in a timeline and a cycle that you're supposed to have grown out of. So now you're just bound and just repeating these lessons. So the universe and your ancestors and spirit guides are going to keep running and looping these lessons, and that's what you end up finding is that you can't move forward. You can't collect 200 and go past go. Like you're just stuck looping literally. Okay, so sometimes this is conscious on their part, sometimes it's not. Sometimes they just don't want to lose the light that you have. Sometimes they know exactly what they're doing. Okay, they're manipulating you to keep you stuck. Okay, they're constantly keeping strings attached, that energetic cord. They refuse to cut it. And I had an ex like this before. Oh boy, let me tell you something. My ancestors couldn't stand his ass. I'm gonna tell you that right now. They made it very clear about that, and that's exactly what he would try to do. Is he would try to keep me stuck in these different things, like, by doing favors and stuff like that. But eventually and essentially, I had to trust what my ancestors was telling me and just kind of branch off and cut off. Okay. So those are the four that we're going to be talking about today. We talked about the hater, the monitoring spirit. Number two is the gossiper. Number three is the energy vampire and the siphoner. And number four was the binder. Okay. So each one of these, like I said, is pretty damn obvious, like who the hater is. Like the hater is obvious, okay? So you just have to make sure that you're fortifying your spiritual body. You're maintaining your spirituality through spiritual practices and protections, okay? The hater, that's the obvious hater, is the one you know. The other one that's the dangerous one too, that's a hater, is the one that smiles in your face and acts like they're really, into what you're doing and happy for you. But the bottom line is really secretly they can't stand you. And if you're in tune energetically and if you're connected to your ancestors, your spirit guide, they're gonna let you know. Okay. They will let you know. There's been people that I've been around like that where they may have said one thing, but I always felt like they didn't really mean it. Like they weren't being truthful. They didn't really want good for me. It's almost like they just wanted to see bad things happen for me. Okay. So pay attention to your body, pay attention to your intuition, pay attention to the messages that you receive when you're around any of these type of people. And the best way to cut this person off would be to cut them off. And I'm just going to run that down the line. Like, what if you know that there's someone that's keeping you stuck from transforming and growing, and this is something that you want to do, then why would you keep them around? Like, why? We're talking spiritual warfare here. Let's think about it. If you're thinking warfare, why would anybody in war show up with no weapons? Number one. Number two, why would they keep their enemy around them, like chopping it up with them? Like, they wouldn't. They're trying to eradicate their enemy or keep their enemy away from them. So think about that. The same thing with spiritual warfare. Okay. And then the monitoring spirit, like I said, those could be NPCs. So if you're protecting yourself on a regular basis and staying protected, then you can ward off any attacks that they may have as well. The gossiper, for me, I don't like being around people who gossip, period. But when the universe and your ancestors show you these people, recognize that they're showing you people that you need to keep away from you. Okay. They're letting you know. So that I take and I use my discernment. If I'm around somebody and I find out, hey, this person's a gossiper, that's what they like to do. They feed off of negativity and the downside of people. I'm gonna keep them away from me. That lets me know I'm gonna keep them away from me. They'll never make it inside of my house and things like that. Okay. Then we've got the energy vampire, which anybody that makes me feel drained, they just gotta go. They got to go. You have to use your spiritual discernment on that. And then the siphoner, that's the one you got to really tune into your ancestors, your intuition, and your spirit guides because they're going to let you know. And you'll be able to tell when somebody's BSing you. Okay. You'll be able to have that kind of spiritual radar where you know something's off. Anytime I say something's off about a person, to me, it's like smelling a weird smell in the house, like you don't know what it is. Like, is it the trash or is it the refrigerator? And I'm just like, something's, I don't know what that is. Like, and that's how it is inside of my spiritual body when I get this feeling about somebody and I be like, something's off about them. I don't know what it is yet, and it never fails. I'm always right, and I don't know what it is at that moment, but then eventually it will reveal itself. But what it does for me is it gives me that protection to know, keep some distance on that one. Okay, just watch that one a little closely, and when I do that, I'm able to see, like I said, things are revealed. And that's because, like I talked about at the beginning, when I stay fortified and spiritually protected, I'm able to prevent things or be aware of things happening before they actually happen. That kind of goes back to those five spiritual gifts I talked about. I think it was episode 40 when we talk about claircognizant, that inner knowing. That intuition. Your intuition is going to be your bestie. Okay. Use it, strengthen it, develop it, trust it, you know, because like I said earlier, my intuition is correct 100% of the time. I don't perceive nothing. I'm perceptive and intuitive, which is a double whammy for somebody who don't see me coming. Cause like when my intuition don't pick up, my sight gonna get it. I can scan a room in no time. Like I can come in seconds. I've put pieces together and the clues that are coming from my intuition. Okay. So definitely, energy vampire, want to watch out for them. Or the gossiper, excuse me. And then energy vampire, we already talked about. They drain you. It's the siphoner you got to be careful of as well. And then the binder. Oh my gosh, the binder. I think everybody knows this because I've heard people say this over and over again. Man, you know what? That relationship lasted way longer than it was supposed to. You know what? I knew it was time to cut it loose. Your spirit knows. Okay, there's a time that's like almost expired, and then there's like a little bit expired where maybe you can still drink the milk a little bit or whatever y'all drinking, or the sour cream or something. And then there's like way past due and expired. Like if you drink that, you're gonna get sick. And so I think that our spirit also nudges us the same way, our ancestors as well. At the end of the day, we still have free will, so we're going to do what we want to do. And what's the worst that could happen but a lesson and maybe being set back on your journey a little bit? So it's kind of up to you how many times you want to do that. So the binder is like, pay attention to that inner compass once again. What's going on inside? My spirit is saying we need to really end this. Why are we still doing this? And go ahead and take care of it however you choose to, which in my opinion with a binder, that's a straight up block. That's a block. That's a block. Don't give them the opportunity to connect the cord again. Go ahead and cut that cord and keep it moving. Bless you, wish you well before it gets nasty and the universe has to turn it into a complete aggressive blowout. Like that it didn't even have to be like that if you had to just paid attention to what was going on inside of you. Okay. So I talked about all of those different four types of spiritual attacks that a person could experience. Now I want to talk about solutions, right? We don't want to just talk about getting beat up in the spirit realm because we're not protected. We want to talk about how can we protect ourselves. We want to talk about what it is that I talked about earlier and how I was able to navigate those challenges of dealing with spiritual warfare and psychological warfare and come out on the other side having kicked them people's ass. And I love that because, like, the way we did it, I was like, come on, man. This was like divinely orchestrated, the whole entire thing. And I love it. Um, but in order to do that, it's because of the spiritual maintenance and the practices that I do on a regular basis. So number one on my list is always going to be to work with your ancestors. Okay, I always say connect with your own ancestors because your ancestors are going to be the first line of defense in the spirit realm. Okay, and the unseen and the esoteric realms. Okay, so while you're learning to develop both your intuition and your relationship with your ancestors, they know that, they acknowledge that, they respect that. They're going to give you that extra protection that you don't know how to do yet. Okay. Now, whether you're doing anything or not, your ancestors are protecting you as well, but they can only do so much without any kind of ashe or energy behind it. Okay. Some of your ancestors want to protect you more, but because you're not actually talking to them, you're not actually praying to them, you're not actually leaving them a glass of water, you have no altar set up for them, they have no power. That's all there is to it. I'm going to call it just like it is. They don't have the power to assist you the way that they would like to and come up and protect you. You're not listening to them. Okay. So that's the first thing you want to do is start to work with your ancestors. Okay. And that shows up in daily gratitude, small offerings, quick check ins, building a protective relationship, just starting to build a relationship with your ancestors. Okay. And I talked about, I've got my How to Build an Altar book on my website, so be sure to check that out if you're interested in learning how to set up your altar. Another thing is prayer and devotional practice. Okay, we don't talk about prayer enough, and I don't know why. I guess maybe it's not trending. But prayer is powerful. Okay, we talked about words and the fact that words are spells, honey. Words are spells. Words can be curses, but words can be blessings. I also talked about words having the power to heal, the power to kill. All right. So if you think that prayers ain't powerful, let me tell you something. They absolutely are. And I talked about this with someone the other day, and I talked about how impactful when I incorporated my prayer practice into my spiritual practice, how that just expanded things on a level that I didn't even realize was possible. Okay. And one of the things that I also mentioned was the fact that I know that prayers are real and I know that prayers work because when I was out there completely disconnected and I was doing whatever I want and living life in a fast lane and on self destruction, my mother used to always say, I'm gonna pray for you. I'm praying for you. My daddy would be like, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you. And guess what? I truly believe that their prayers kept me into a certain space until I was able to come back around and be on this side of the fence and actively connected to spirituality. So prayers are also very powerful, guys. Okay. And I wanted to put that in there for someone that may resonate with. Now, as usual, take what you need and leave the rest. So if prayer doesn't sound like something you want to get into, you don't have to do it. Just create some sort of a practice that gets you in alignment on a daily basis, and that includes protection. Okay, before you go out the door, you don't know how that can protect you from wrecks. You don't know how that can protect you from missing certain people. There's been times where I was getting ready to go somewhere and I, for some reason, couldn't find my keys. And I'd be like, where in the world are my keys at? And I'm talking about, I'm looking for keys for like 15, 20 minutes, right? 15, 20 minutes. The next thing you know, I find the keys and I go on my way. And as I go, I just missed a wreck that happened. Those types of things, you just never know. Okay. So just keep yourself protected and have some sort of morning practice that gets you in alignment. For me, it's meditations. For me, it's a combination of different things. I just practice some of this stuff, on different days, because that's just it's in my toolbox now. Something else that can help you with protection is spiritual baths. I love this, okay? And I do this regularly and frequently. And the spiritual baths are going to help you. You can incorporate certain types of herbs that you put into your water. It's relaxing, it's also cleansing and clearing. You can place your intention inside of there. You can make it your self care and communion time with your ancestors, with your higher self, however you choose to formulate and develop that practice for yourself, okay? And it's going to be very, very helpful to help to clear the external residue from different types of energies and entities that may have connected to you throughout the day. Okay, so and then of course, however often you do it, could be like week long, So go ahead and incorporate that. If you don't have time for that, or you don't have maybe a tub inside of your house, you can always do daily showers where during your shower you utilize your intention to be able to cleanse and clear any negative energies, any entities, whatever it is that you choose to say to formulate your practice on a daily basis and include a protection. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't skip out on the protection. Like I said, that's how my ancestors trained me. They trained me with protection first and healing. Okay, because they knew I was out there just like everybody else. I was like, oh my God, look at this, look at this, look at this. I want to do this. And I was doing all of these things and I was starting to open portals up. And so they're like, wait a minute now, don't get hurt out here. Like, especially when you barely talking to us. so so they helped me to learn the foundation. And also what was important about that for me, and I'm going to put this in here too for anybody that may potentially be a healer who may not have completely activated that part of themselves first. That was very crucial for me to understand protection of myself first. And then before I started getting into energy healing with people, I knew how to protect myself. I knew how to not take on what my client had. And I also knew not to put any of my stuff on to the energy body of the person that I was working with. It was very, very important to have learned that way, and so that's going to be very important for anybody that may go out and go on to be a healer. You're going to want to know protection, okay? Because you're going to be working with people whose energy bodies have all kinds of stuff on them. You don't want to put your stuff on them. You don't want to take on theirs, okay? So spiritual baths, very important. Home cleansing, like I talked about, how this whole thing got started for me, which was the floor mop washes that I did with different herbs. I put rosemary in mine and some other things, and of course, lots of intentions and prayers. Okay, and then of course, some people we talk about sage. Use sage is good for cleansing the home, and Palo Santo. Okay, sage is going to cleanse and clear everything. All right. So sage is going to cleanse and clear all the negative energy, going to clear everything, really. It's just going to kind of give you a reset. Whereas Palo Santo is only going to clear and cleanse the negative energy. So it depends. Once you know these things, the more you know, the more you grow. Okay. So, and of course, you develop your own practice. So that's the important part of this is learning to get into the discipline of practice. And it doesn't have to seem so much like work. It's actually really exciting. And expansive to be able to have the experience yourself and be like, oh, okay, this is what it means for me. This is what it feels like for me. And most importantly, you stand protected. So if you got haters out there and they're trying to do whatever it is, it's bouncing off. It's bouncing off of your aura, your energy field. It's not even touching you. It's not affecting you. As a matter of fact, what's happening is you're becoming aware. Like they're actually presenting themselves and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know that was an enemy. I didn't know. I thought that person liked me, so you're starting to have the awareness and consciousness as you develop your own spiritual body, okay? And then, of course, let's see, we talked about trusting your intuition. And intuition is going to be your bestie, okay? Because intuition is going to be through the whole thing, always, okay? It's your bestie. Just think about it that way. It's going to trust your body's nose and learn the different ways that your intuition speaks to you, okay? Sometimes you may hear an actual telepathic voice. Sometimes you may just feel something in your gut. Sometimes you may just know something off, like just learn the different. Uh, languages and expressions of your intuition so that you begin to trust it like so. Let's see. Physical protections, I like this too. Lots of people run around wearing crystals, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, crystals are also a way of creating some sort of protection around yourself. Now, I will say this because most crystals are. Um, doing some light work, you may want to put some prayers into it. So like that's another reason that prayers are powerful. It's how you use them. Okay. So a crystal just by itself has some healing capabilities to it, but if you wanted to do some protection type work, you may want to tell it to. Okay. So physical protection such as crystals, mojos. Let's see, I don't have my crystal. I got my crystal bracelet on. I got my crystal bracelet next to the one with the evil eye. I love it, and so, you want to make sure that you got something that includes the protection part. And then the mojo bags for people who are on that side of the path, they can be incorporated with a variety of different things. And chances are, if you got a mojo bag, you know what I'm talking about. It could be sigils, a written seal, all sorts of things. You could put these on your body. You could put them in your car, in your home. You could put them under your pillow depending on their different properties and functionalities. But so that's also going to help you to have some protection on a regular basis. You can do one of these, you could do a combination of these. Like I said, I do a combination of all of these. Let's see, project hygiene. Keeping your plans private until formed. This is probably going to be one of the biggest and the easiest and the best, which is just mind your business. Just do it. You want to tell somebody, tell your ancestors. You want to tell somebody, tell your spirit guides, because they always going to be happy for you and they always going to help you. Okay. And they also may say, maybe that's not it. Maybe you should be looking this way. Or what about this? That's who you want to tell. And you just want to kind of come out and be whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. Don't tell the hater and don't put it out on display for the monitoring spirit to come through and then wonder why your plans got thwarted, okay? Let's see. And then practical resets. I love this. I just did this too. I just washed all of my comforter and sheet sets. Make sure that you are getting some sunlight to recharge. Make sure you're moving your body, get out in nature. You want to do things that are going to help you to reset your energy body. Okay. So, as you can see, all of these types of things are not hard to do. As usual, everything that I named is something very simple to do that requires very little bit of action from your on your part, but it's going to be very monumental and very powerful and keeping you spiritually protected. Okay, so I'm going to go through the list one more time, and then we're going to close out on this one. Okay, so number one, ways that you can protect yourself from spiritual attacks is working with your ancestors and your spirit guides. Number two is going to be prayer and devotional practice, whatever that looks like to you. Okay, short prayers, affirmations, meditation, anything that's going to include some protection inside of that. Okay, spiritual baths, we talked about that, utilizing and infusing herbs and salt and other different types of properties into your bath water. Also, we talked about utilizing showers and the intention of cleansing and clearing. Home cleansing, very important, particularly if your ancestors live in your home, especially if you got an altar set up in there. You want to make sure that you keep your home clean energetically, okay, physically and energetically. Okay, so that can include sage, Palo Santo, floor mop washes, and with herbal infusions. Also, you want to trust your intuition. I'm always going to say that probably every episode because your body gives you signals and you learn to develop and trust those as well. And then physical protections, we talked about crystals with prayers in it, mojo bags, sigils, and you can use these all over. Okay, so not just on your body, but you can also have them inside of your car. I've got some on my computer desk and everything. So, just like I said, once you start tapping into this stuff, your intuition, your ancestors, spirit guides, they're going to start communicating things with you. And then, of course, project hygiene, making sure you're keeping your plans to yourself, not running your mouth about your stuff and then wondering why it's always not happening. It took me a while for this one, okay? And then practical resets, getting out in nature, cleansing and laundering your bedding, moving your body around, things like that that help you to restore and recharge your energy body. Okay. So hopefully y'all got something out of that. And then hopefully people see why it is that I don't fool with too many people. Okay. Because people can. sometimes they don't know what they're doing. Sometimes they damn well know what they're doing, but I am very discerning, okay? Spiritual discernment is extremely important once you're on this path, especially as you start to elevate, raise your vibration and your frequency. There's going to be other people, entities, NPCs being activated that are going to see you coming a mile away, like a beaming and gleaming, okay? So you want to make sure that you're protected and that you are fortified for any sort of spiritual attacks to miss you and to be aware and conscious of what's going on around you spiritually at all times. Okay. Like, seriously, because this is truly a spiritual warfare. And I literally talked about this with somebody the other day when we talked about the things that have happened in our lives that could have gone way worse, that if it wasn't for the work that we do and the discipline that we have, that things could have just gone bad and just been happening to us, and that's a big part of why we continue to stay on the path. Okay, so hopefully y'all got something out of that. Y'all know what it is. That is going to be it for me for this transmission, and that is it, y'all, until the next episode. Peace.